Donna. Thank you very much for agreeing to give this interview. I would like to thank you on behalf of QT, as well as on behalf of the organizers of the EMIC Master. I understand and appreciate that you are very, very busy, so it is very important for us to be able to get a bit of your time and a bit of insights from this experience that you had with QT. Last year you worked on a collaborative project with some members of the BPM discipline at QT, where some techniques from process mining were employed in order to analyze the performance of insurance claims processes, commercial insurance claims handling processes at Suncorp. So I would like to start with a bit of background, like your job responsibilities and the problems you were facing before approaching QT.
Thanks, Marcello. So my team manages high volume, lower value insurance claims, so many thousands and thousands of claims every year. And one of the business challenges that we face all of the time is finding the right balance between having rules and controls and guidelines about how people apply processes, and balancing that with making things easy for our customers and not too many things that they have to do to have their insurance claim managed quickly, because for our commercial insurance customers it's usually something that is in their business that has been affected and they need it repaired or replaced quite quickly so that they're not losing money. So the other thing that we need to balance is that we are managing cost, so we're not paying too much for insurance claims. So there is this balancing all of the time and trying to know where we should direct more effort and time and more rules in place, and where we should say we can step back a little here and not have to worry so much about the rules and focus more on ease of process. So that was really the business challenge that QT was able to assist us with.
So then you embarked in a journey where you provided data through your team to members of the QT BPM discipline, and they started analyzing and crunching this data in order to understand the actual performances of these business processes. So what type of results did you get, and what areas in your business did you manage to focus more based on this information that you got from QT?
Sure. So Marcello, one of the measures of success is the speed with which we can resolve insurance claims. And what I was finding was that the much smaller insurance claims, the lower value insurance claims, were taking too long for us to settle them. And that means that our customers are not getting the best service that they should be getting, and that we constantly want to be better than our competitors. So we're not meeting one of the goals that we're trying to achieve from a business perspective. So what I asked QT for help with was to understand why those smaller insurance claims were taking longer than they seemed that they should have taken. We'd tested many anecdotal theories, ranging from that it's because some smaller claims are more complex than others, we have new staff and they're still in training, you know, all of the usual kind of things that you would come up with thinking when you don't really have the data and you're just trying to guess based on things that you observe in, you know, your observable world. So what QT was able to do was to access our data and actually mine into more than 100,000 examples of these smaller claims. I think it was around 130,000 examples, and able to tell us exactly what was happening with those claims. That's just something that you would not be able to do even if you decided to do some random sampling, you could only maybe do a few hundred, or at the most maybe 1,000, but it would be very resource intensive. So Dr. Suriati from QUT came and worked with our business analyst team to get access to our data from our computer systems. The systems that we were dealing with, like many insurance organisations I think around the world, many of them were legacy systems with not very good data or not very easily accessible data. So it was quite challenging, and it wasn't just one legacy system, it was multiple legacy systems, because like many companies, we've been built by acquisitions over many years, and systems are just another one and another one and another one, and we didn't have one system with all of our data. So QUT was brilliant at being able to just really work with that, which was quite challenging, but work with it and keep pulling it apart and
deconstruct
the
data.
Yes.
And how did you use these results provided from this analysis in order to generate some benefit for your particular area?
So the process mining was fantastic, because it actually showed us visually what was happening with those insurance claims, which was actually what was happening to our customers, and that they were getting stuck in loops. And what we were able to work out from the process mining was that the cause of those loops. I won't go into that, but what the cause of that was, and to be able to redesign our process to take that away. So we started with a pilot, and because we had the visual evidence of what was happening, I was able to get business commitment to that without any difficulty at all, because it was quite clear and I had the facts to support it. We started with a pilot, and we intended to pilot and then analyse our results, but the outcome very, very quickly became so obvious, the benefit that we were getting, that we transitioned straight from pilot into
production.
Yes, absolutely. And so the benefit has been that our smaller claims have gone from taking on an average maybe 30 to 60 days to finalise, to most of them being on the same day, and a maximum of maybe 3 to 4 days. So that's a huge customer benefit. And the other benefit is that from a cost management point of view, we are not spending our resource effort managing things that are in loops and touching things again and again and again in loops, and spending, like all businesses, we have to try to take cost out of our business. So it frees up that effort to be able to redirect that into more complex work, more meaningful work, where there is a return on effort for that. So it's been a successful outcome from the point of view of improved customer experience, and also better management of our resources and where they're spending their time. Which could also translate into, taking that cost out of your business or redirecting that cost. The other thing that, the next step that it allowed us to do was to actually take that process, because we had simplified it so much, and to offshore that, which took another layer of cost out of our business and also allowed us to even speed it up more. So we now have service levels of a couple of hours around those processes. So
that's fantastic. So that's a tangible benefit that you managed to derive from the application of process mining in your case. So I would like for the audience to understand a bit what it takes to start such process mining exercise. What were the requirements from process mining in a way to be able to embark in such a journey, and how long did it take before you could get and crunch some results in order to get meaningful evidence, the evidence that you were looking for?
Sure. So we needed to allocate somebody who understood our data and understood the business requirements from QUT to be able to, write the request of what data was required. So somebody who could act as the business analyst working between the QUT student who was working with us and our IT department to translate what was required. That person, I guess, for the first couple of weeks was probably spending maybe 50% of their time.
50, okay, yes.
But only for the first couple of weeks. And then once we had an iteration of data, then QUT was able to work with that and then come back with a first version of results. And then we refined it and got some more results. So I would say it was probably within a month that we had a first version of results, and probably 3 months to when we got to the end, and there were constant iterations in between. And right from the start, the results were meaningful, because what they were doing was, first of all, disproving the anecdotal theories that we'd been working on, and then after they'd been disproven, it then allowed, I guess, testing of alternative theories. And
so most of this anecdotal evidence was actually disproved by means of this analysis.
Yes, absolutely.
And you talked about some significant investment of resources, at least in the first couple of weeks, like 50%. So what really convinced you at the beginning that it was worthwhile exploring this avenue, right? Investing into process mining?
I think two things, Marcello. One was actually being careful to select the right business problem, which I knew that if we could solve it, would give us the benefits that we were looking for, which was the competitive advantage, the customer experience, and also the management of cost of our resources.
Which are strategic objectives for your area.
Absolutely. So being very careful to select something that was a very meaningful business problem. And then also it was the case studies that I had seen presented by QUT and showing the outcomes for some other industries, that I was already convinced that this was a methodology that could work, and I had seen the case studies to show where it had worked. So all of the other things we've tried hadn't, so it was worth exploring and investing because of the potential benefits that can come from.
Do you see now the potential of applying process mining elsewhere within your company, both within your area as well as outside your area?
Absolutely, and it's something that I think, having seen what it can do, it's front of mind for me many times, even when our company is a very, very large company, and like many large companies, we have a lot of processes, and even being a consumer of some of those processes, for example, our HR processes, systems for managing our people, and I see some of the steps and the redundancies that have been built into those processes. I think constantly of applications where it could be used, yes. And our business area, I know we will come back, and there are some other areas that we will want to use it for.
So, do you think that organizations in general, and maybe you could draw a bit on your experience with Suncorp, do you think that organizations in general are ready uptake, to embark in such process mining initiatives, because while it has already been applied in many domains and in a number of organizations, process mining hasn't yet been systematically embedded in the daily operations of an organization.
I think that the typical thinking about the reporting or the information that you can take from your IT systems has been very much either about the day-to-day management of the system, so the performance, downtime and monitoring those kinds of things, and also logging for compliance reasons. So I don't think that there's been enough thought about the richness of the data that is there in terms of business processes and the evidence of how your money is being used to manage your processes. So I think that the timing is really right now because of the emphasis on big data, and we're starting to see many companies starting to use that in competitive ways. So I think that it's the perfect timing for process mining to be trying to get out there what benefits it can provide. It's important to pitch it from a business level and not only an IT level, because if it's focused on an IT level, the audience is IT people who are not the ones who typically make the decisions and have control of the money and the investment in an organisation. So I think it's very important to focus on what are the business advantages of using process mining.
I see. So before you alluded to the fact that you decided to offshore some parts of your business as a result of this analysis that you obtained through process mining. As you know, offshoring is one of the important focuses of IT governance. So to conclude, I would like with you to explore the link between process mining and BPM in general and IT governance. What should IT governance do in order to get, for example, more meaningful results from process mining?
IT governance should be thinking more broadly in terms of the business value that can be added, as well as the information about compliance and the information about performance of systems. The example with offshoring I would use is that if we offshore a process at a given point in time, and the process is presumably as efficient as it can be at that point in time, but over time business ideas will evolve, and the technology will evolve, and there will always be ways that you can make it more efficient. So if you offshore a process in a given state, you don't want it to stay in that state forever. So you need to be able to see what is happening with the process so that you can see where it can improve. Otherwise, what you are doing is paying more money to the offshore provider than you need to be paying, because your process has built-in redundancy or fat, because it hasn't been made as lean as it can be. Yes, and so I think building that into IT governance so that kind of information is available. Also, at the very beginning, when systems are being designed, it's about thinking what kind of process information do I want to be able to take from the system when the system is in production. So even now I see examples of where business processes have been designed and the systems, new systems are designed to support those processes, but once it's in production, it very quickly becomes apparent that there is redundancy built in, or what seemed to be a good idea for a process is actually not working. And so when it's being used, people find ways around it because it doesn't work. And so that starts to happen in multiple instances, and very soon your process is going in all sorts of different ways than what you actually think it's going. Unless you have the process mining data, you don't actually know that that's happening until maybe a long while down the track, when you find that your results that you expected are not what's being delivered. So having access to that information right from the start is something that will be of an enormous value, and I think IT governance can help to sell the benefits of that right up front when systems are being designed, rather than as an afterthought down the track. And then it wouldn't take so long to try to dig into the data.
The data, yes, because they would already be in the right format and at the right granularity, and would capture the information that will later be required in order to provide meaningful analysis results.
Yes.
Well, Donna, that was it for my list of questions. I would like to thank you very much for your time, and I'm sure that the insights that you provided on this experience that you had, this first-hand experience that you had with process mining, would be meaningful for our audience and would generate curiosity and interest in process mining and in BPM in general. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure, Martin.